What if the person who changed the world was once told they would never achieve anything? What if everything you think defines intelligence is wrong? And what if that person was you? You were born in 1879, in the quiet city of Ulm, Germany. Nothing about your arrival suggests greatness. There are no signs, no predictions, no reason for anyone to believe your name will one day echo through history. In fact, your early years raise concern. You do not speak as quickly as other children. You seem distant, absorbed in your own thoughts. Adults whisper that something might be wrong. Some assume your future will be limited before it has even begun. But what they cannot see is that your mind is not slow, it is searching. Searching for patterns. Searching for meaning. Searching for truth. As you grow older, school becomes your first real obstacle. You sit in rigid classrooms where obedience is valued more than curiosity. Teachers demand memorization, repetition, and silence. But silence is not something your mind accepts easily. You ask questions, constantly. Not just what works, but why it works. And that makes you difficult. Your teachers grow frustrated. One of them tells you directly that you will never achieve anything in life. For most people, that sentence would become a limit. A quiet boundary that shapes every decision moving forward. But for you, it becomes something else. It becomes something to prove wrong. Around the age of 5, a small moment changes everything. Your father shows you a compass. At first, it seems like a simple object. But as you watch the needle move, always pointing in the same direction, you feel something shift inside you. Nothing is touching it. Nothing is pushing it. And yet, it moves. In that moment, you realize something profound: there are invisible forces shaping the world. Forces that cannot be seen, only understood. And from that point forward, you need to understand them. This curiosity begins to define you. While others focus on fitting in, you drift further into your own thoughts. You imagine impossible scenarios. What would happen if you chased a beam of light? Would time stop? Would the world freeze? These are not normal questions. But your life is not going to be normal. You leave Germany and continue your education in Switzerland, hoping for a fresh start. But even there, you remain an outsider. You graduate, but not at the top of your class. When you look for work, rejection follows you. Universities don't want you. You don't fit their system. So you take what you can get: a job as a patent clerk in Bern. It is not impressive. It is not prestigious. It is not what you imagine for your life. But it gives you something rare. Time. Time to think. Time to imagine. Time to question everything. While the world overlooks you, your mind begins to build something extraordinary. You conduct experiments without equipment, entirely inside your imagination. You picture yourself riding alongside a beam of light. You imagine clocks slowing down, space bending, reality shifting depending on motion. And slowly, everything begins to connect. What if the biggest breakthrough in human history was discovered by someone the world had already dismissed? And what if success doesn't come from recognition, but from thinking differently when no one is watching? In 1905, everything changes. In a single year, you publish 4 scientific papers. Each one challenges the way people understand reality. You explain the photoelectric effect, showing that light behaves like particles. You provide proof that atoms exist. And then, you introduce something even more radical: the idea that time and space are not fixed. They are relative. Dependent on motion. Dependent on perspective. And then, you present a simple equation, one that will become the most famous in history: E equals mc squared. With this, you reveal that mass and energy are not separate. They are different forms of the same thing. At first, almost no one notices. Your ideas are too unfamiliar, too far ahead of their time. But slowly, the scientific world begins to understand. You didn't just solve problems. You changed the rules. Recognition follows. The same institutions that once rejected you now invite you in. You become a professor. Your name spreads across the world. Your face becomes recognizable. Your ideas reshape physics forever. But fame is not what drives you. It never was. You are still chasing the same thing you were as a child, understanding. As the world moves forward, it becomes more complicated. War breaks out. Technology begins to show both its power and its danger. Your work, particularly your insights into energy, plays a role in developments that lead to destruction. This weighs on you. You never intended for your discoveries to be used this way. You begin to speak out, advocating for peace and responsibility. You realize something important: knowledge alone is not enough. It is how people use it that shapes the world. Even after everything you have achieved, you are not finished. You search for something deeper, a unified theory that explains everything. Gravity, energy, space, time, all connected in one elegant system. Years pass. Then decades. The answers do not come easily this time. But you keep going. Because your life was never about certainty. It was about curiosity. What if the only difference between you and someone who changes the world is the willingness to keep asking questions when everyone else stops? As you grow older, you begin to reflect. You were never the perfect student. You were never the obvious choice. You were doubted, dismissed, and underestimated. And yet, you changed the way humanity understands reality. Not because you had all the answers, but because you refused to stop asking questions. Your life is not a story about instant brilliance. It is a story about persistence. About curiosity. About thinking differently in a world that often resists it. And as your story comes to an end, one idea remains: the people who change the world are not always the ones who fit into it. They are the ones who question it. And now, as you step away from this life, you are left with one final thought: somewhere, right now, there is someone sitting quietly. Someone overlooked. Someone asking a question no one else has thought to ask. And just like you, that question might change everything.